Imagine this. You are heading out for the day, but something nags at you. Did you lock the door? You check it once, twice, 5 times. You tell yourself it's fine, but the thought lingers in your mind, an unshakable doubt. So you check again and again. You miss the bus, you are late for work, and your whole day spirals because of a single intrusive thought. Welcome to the world of obsessive compulsive disorder, commonly known as OCD. Hello everyone, this is Swati, and today I'll be sharing the story of Anand, a 30-year-old man who has lived with OCD since his teenage. We will explore what it is like to live in a constant loop of obsessions and compulsions, and how, with the right help, he found his way towards managing his exhausting condition. Anand's life was ruled by rituals he never asked for. Growing up, he was the top student in his class. His parents were proud of him, and on the outside, everything seemed perfect. But behind closed doors, Anand's mind was a battleground. He could not leave his room without checking if the windows were locked, the lights were turned off, and everything was just right. But what started as small habits grew into hours of rituals, sometimes consuming his entire day. People often joke about being a little OCD, but what Anand experienced was far from a quirk. It was a prison, a never ending loop of intrusive thoughts followed by compulsive behaviors that offered only temporary relief. The more he tried to resist, the stronger the compulsions became. It all started when Anand was in high school. He was always a bit of a perfectionist. He liked things organized and in control. But then, during his final exams, stress kicked in, and his thoughts became obsessive. He would sit at his desk, unable to focus, consumed by a fear that if he did not arrange his books in a certain order, something terrible would happen. He could not explain it. It did not make sense, but the fear was real. He would reorganize his books over and over again, even as the clock ticked away, pushing back his study time. Soon, it was not just his books. He had to check his door, his windows, his homework over and over until the nagging feeling subsided. At first, his family did not notice. They thought he was just being careful or overly meticulous. But as time went on, it became clear that something deeper was happening. Anand was trapped in his own mind, battling thoughts he could not escape. Obsessive compulsive disorder or OCD is a mental health condition characterized by persistent, intrusive thoughts known as obsessions and repetitive thoughts called compulsions that the individual feels driven to perform in response to these thoughts. For Anand, the obsession was the fear that something bad would happen if he did not perform certain rituals. The compulsion was his way of trying to control that fear. But the relief he felt after completing a ritual was always short lived. The thoughts would return and the cycle would start all over again. OCD is not just about being neat or organized. It is about being caught in a loop of anxiety and fear where the brain tricks you into believing that performing certain actions will prevent disaster. This can be incredibly distressing and exhausting. Anand's life became unmanageable. He would spend hours each morning checking, rechecking, and organizing before he could even leave his room. It got to the point where he missed appointments, skipped social events, and withdrew from his friends. Even his parents could not understand why he was constantly late for family functions or why he could not simply relax. Anand described it as being held hostage by his own thoughts. He knew that his fears were not rational, but it didn't matter. The anxiety was so intense, so overwhelming, that the only way to calm it was by giving in to the compulsions. But even when he followed through with his rituals, the peace was temporary. There was always a new doubt, a new fear. What if I didn't check the window thoroughly enough? What if the stove is still on? His mind was never at rest. He felt isolated, ashamed, and completely alone in his struggle. Anand's breakthrough came when he finally sought help. He was diagnosed with obsessive-compulsive disorder and began a form of cognitive behavioral therapy specifically designed for OCD called exposure and response prevention, or ERP. ERP is a process where the person is gradually exposed to their obsessions but prevented from engaging in the compulsions. For Anand, this meant resisting the urge to check and recheck his surroundings. It was terrifying at first. He would sit in the therapy sweating, heart pounding, as his therapist asked him to leave a room without checking the windows or the doors. But over time, Anand's brain began to adjust. He learned that the anxiety, though powerful, would eventually fade on its own. He did not need the compulsions to feel safe. He learned to tolerate the discomfort and found that the more he resisted the compulsions, the weaker they became. ERP and CBT helped Anand break the cycle of OCD. It was not an easy process. It required persistence, patience, and a lot of courage. But slowly, the rituals that had once consumed him began to loosen their grip. He learned that his fears were not as all powerful as they felt, and he could regain control over his life. Therapy taught Anand how to manage his symptoms. While the intrusive thoughts still come and go, he no longer feels the need to perform endless rituals. He has learned healthier coping mechanisms and strategies for when his anxiety flares up. Now, instead of giving in to his compulsions, he takes deep breaths, grounds himself in the present, and lets the thoughts pass by without reacting to them. Anand's story is a powerful reminder of the importance of mental health. Just like physical health, our mental well being needs care and attention. Mental health is not just about the absence of illness, it is about finding balance, building resilience, and knowing when to seek help. For those living with OCD or any other mental health condition, it is crucial to understand that you are not alone and that there is no shame in seeking help. Mental health support, whether through therapy, medication, or community support groups, can provide the tools needed to regain control and living a fulfilling life. Anand's journey with OCD is ongoing, but he's learned to live with his condition instead of letting it control him. His story is one of resilience, of courage, and of the power of therapy to make a real difference in someone's life. If you or someone you know is struggling with OCD, know that help is available. OCD is a real and treatable condition, and with the right support, you can break free from the cycle of obsessions and compulsions. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of The Loop in My Mind. Join me next time as we continue to share the stories of those living with mental health challenges and how they are finding hope, healing, and strength. Thank you.